From Sirisia and the chairman for the Jubilee Party in the county of Bungoma. And let me now introduce my panelists. This hour, Kanini Kega is the Member of Parliament for Kieni, as well as Jared Okello, Member of Parliament for Nyando. Jared, I'll let you start by reacting to what we've just heard from John Waluke there.
Well, firstly, let me thank you for inviting us.
Always a pleasure.
You're still bubbling with joy as I left you last time. And nice to meet my brother, who actually escaped by the skin of his teeth.
Is it escape or survive?
No, you know, he just escaped.
It was a serious wind.
It was a serious wind that blew not just his county, but Kirinyaga and Laikipia. Everybody lost except him. So I think that is also a vote of confidence in his capability. And I'm looking forward to engaging him in Parliament to debate serious issues that help the Kenyan people. Well, some of us, coming to your question, are at pains to really poke holes on such a pedestrian argument by Honorable Waluke. Pedestrian to the extent that we don't enjoy, getting into hypothetical issues. Some of us are in the business of looking at facts and analyzing them appropriately and coming up with a determination. Now, the Supreme Court verdict was quite categorical. First and foremost, that the harsh indictment was basically passed on the electoral body that has the constitutional mandate to run the affairs of elections, right from registration of voters all the way to announcement of result. And it goes further to also give them a mandate to carry out any referenda if there could be need. So for the Supreme Court, the apex court in the land, to have found them with such grievous transgressions of law and ordered them to carry out fresh election, that is what is captured into that particular ruling that was made by the Supreme Court. For one, therefore, to come out and say that that wasn't a fresh election, but again he contradicts himself to also say that it wasn't a rerun. Now, if you read carefully Article 138 of the Kenyan Constitution, with emphasis on Sub-Article 5, it says that once that threshold is not attained, and the threshold is clear, you have to get more than half of the votes cast as a candidate, and secondly, you must garner at least 24 counties within the Republic of Kenya. So that was not the determination of our courts. No one, we can't say with certainty got that threshold, but if we are to also go by the decision of the court, Uhuru Kenyatta got 35 counties, Raila Odinga got 29 counties. But that wasn't the gist or the germane issues surrounding that particular decision. They said that with the transgressions that were perpetuated by the electoral body, it became very difficult to say with certainty who actually won that election. For that reason, therefore, the court chose to nullify the entire election as void, ab initio, and ordered for fresh election. So this is not a rerun, where in actual sense, they could have ordered for only the two protagonists, who are in this sense, the one with the highest and the one with the second highest, to go back to the ballot. But you see, already IEBC has, the norm of clandestine behavior already locked out any potential contender in the next election.
So what are you saying?
What I'm actually saying,
all the other 6 candidates participating in this
not
election?
just 6. I mean, every Kenyan who is eligible to run to be president should be given an opportunity, because this is not a rerun. This is a fresh election. But you see, they have already started poking holes on the Constitution and locking out everybody, including myself, who could have perhaps had an interest to run as president of Kenya.
Yeah.
So it is utterly wrong. And not just that, well, I know you're coming into that, but even the unilateral decision to even order for the date of the next election is utterly wrong. This is the same body that has been found culpable of transgressions, and serious ones aside.
Okay.
Still moving forward to do what is not in tandem with the law.
Definitely. Before we get to that, Kanini Kega, your thoughts on how the IEBC has been conducting itself since that Supreme Court ruling?
One, of course, for us, we were shocked with the decision that was given by the Supreme Court, and the dissenting judges actually gave their reasons. The two that upheld that case did not give us the reason, and they say that they are going to give us in 21 days. Or in 21 days. I'm hoping now in 16 days they are going to give us the reasons as to why they decided to vote the way they did. Having said that, I think the Supreme Court, the same Supreme Court, said that IEBC should conduct a flash election within 60 days. The same judges said that IBC should conduct the election within 60 days. So without casting aspersions, I don't know whether he is privy to the intrigues, you know, of who has been found that culpable for them to say that IBC should not conduct the election. And you remember after that pronouncement, we saw the principles of NASA, or Z Court, saying that IBC should not conduct the elections. And we saw Kuru or Court himself saying that UN should conduct this election. And they know very, very clearly that we are not a pariah state. Kenya is a country that is ruled by the rule of the law. We have a constitution. And the constitution is very, very clear. Even if the Supreme Court did not say that IBC is the one that is supposed to conduct the election, it's very, very clear in the constitution who is mandated to conduct the election. And I'm shocked that people are raising issues with IBC saying that the flash elections should be done on the 17th. It is within their mandate and their purview to give that date without even consulting anybody. I don't understand why we should have an issue with that. But having said that, to me, it did not shock me when Raila said that they have an issue with this. The reason? He is not ready for the flash election. He is not stupid. He knows he doesn't have the numbers. He knows very, very clearly that His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta has the numbers. He has his agents. When he was talking about having a parallel tally, he has the numbers from each and every polling station. Jared Mheshimiwa here had his agents in each and every polling station. He has the numbers. Even before IBC had their numbers.
So you think NASA is not ready for this election?
Absolutely. And we even said this before the election, because if you remember the number of cases that were taken to court to prevent or to try and sway IBC from conducting the election on the 8th, that clearly tells you that NASA or court was not ready for the election. Remember also on the 30th, when they had their PG, and we also had our PG, they were told by their principals that they should not go to parliament to swear in and also elect a speaker. Why? Basically because they wanted to clear this constitutional crisis, whereby if the president is not there, then there is no speaker of the National Assembly, then definitely there will be crisis in this country. But at least the constitution is very, very clear. We followed the constitution, we went to parliament, we were sworn in, and now we have a speaker of the National Assembly. In case of the absence of the president and the deputy president, the speaker is there. So for me, I believe they are not ready for the next election, because they have the numbers. They know that we will defeat them. And I want to give a typical example. During nominations in my constituency, I got 33,000 votes. Number 2 got 12,000 votes. During the general election, I got 68,000 votes. My number 2 then got 2,000 votes. Because naturally, nobody wants to be associated with a failure. All those people who voted for Uhuru Kenyatta will still vote for him. And those who voted otherwise, and they were defeated, they will definitely come to our side. So they have the figures. They know very, very clearly that on the 17th, on the night of 17th, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta will still be the president of the Republic of Kenya, having been re-elected.
Jared, the views here by Kanini Kega, we've had them several times from members of parliament or leaders affiliated to Jubilee that NASA is just not ready for these elections. But let's quickly go through what are your issues surrounding this election date that you think should be postponed for about another week or 2?
Well, firstly, NASA coalition is not dictated by pronouncements by one Akuru Aukot. Akuru Aukot was just a worthy competitor, not just to Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, but even to President Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, when he makes particular sentiments surrounding the election, those are his own and his own political party. So when he came out to say that UN should conduct our next elections, I mean, we are not in sync with that particular pronouncement. That is bit number 1. Bit number 2, you know, when IEBC was given an opportunity by the court to go and open the server so that we could say with certainty that indeed Uhuru won the election, and that was a court order from none other than Supreme Court of this land, what did they do? They went to take tea at Trattoria and came back empty-handed. And, they were challenged to say, why are you dilly-dallying in presenting this result? They said the saffron is in France and people in France were actually asleep. And that was 12 o'clock during the day when we all know that, we are just 2-3 hours ahead of France. So all these were deliberate schemes to subvert the justice process that Kenyans were yearning for, even during that electoral period. So with opening those servers, we could have known, as he wants to claim, that Uhuru won that election. If he did win, surely, what was so difficult just to allow us to access the servers? And it wasn't just the work of NASA coalition to do that. Jubilee was given an ample opportunity to present their agents who are going to help us verify the authenticity of the servers. The court itself got very credible professors in IT to go and help us check who exactly won and how were the results transmitted from polling stations to constituencies and ultimately to Bomas of Kenya. They refused. And the complicit arrangement that we have constantly seen between Jubilee and IEBC is worrying to us. And that's why yesterday, a few hours after the CS education came up and said, election should be conducted in 2-3 weeks because of the exams that are impending, in exactly 1 hour or so, IEBC was out there with a date of election. So are they acting at the behest of Jubilee, as we have always suspected? So these things cannot be swept under the carpet. They have to be raised above board.
What do you think should be done about the examination program? Because it is culture in this country that has been observed for the longest time, the exam dates, and consequently the announcement the following year.
Well, as you correctly say, it is traditional that exams have to be carried out every November. And I think those in high school have consistently begun it much earlier. And, date of exams cannot be reconciled with the law. This is not just a pronouncement of the Supreme Court. This is the purview of the Constitution of Kenya in Article 138. And the court was quite clear that we have to wait for 60 days, or rather have it conducted within 60 days. And we are saying, let me take you back a bit. The drafters of this constitution were not very foolish. They knew that procurement processes tend to take quite a good amount of time. We have to procure certain materials that will help us in conducting this election. And they knew all the laws, including procurement acts, that govern this particular conduct. So if you rush such a decision to carry out procurement procedures and hence be transgressing the law once again, the drafters already knew what they were going to do.
So is the issue that IEBC won't have enough time to procure material for the election?
Well, everything has to be operated above board. But what we are saying, what is so wrong pushing that examination a little longer so that, one, Kenyans express their will at the ballot without any interference from any quarters? That is bit number one. And bit number two, what is so difficult to respect the Constitution and the pronouncement of the court? Jubilee is always in the business of doing things shrouded in mystery, so that they take advantage of such confusion, meddle again with the servers, and pronounce themselves the winners, as if Maraga is not again in this country.
Can you please react to that?
Personally, I'm shocked because my colleague, who is a good friend of mine, is misinterpreting the law. Because when you say within 16 days, it can even be 2 days, 3 days.
And it can be 60.
It can also be 60. The second one, you're saying that we need to procure. We as who?
As
you know,
the country,
IBC is the one that has given the date. Is the one that is supposed to procure. They have considered also all those factors. In fact, I know they have also considered why they have said that it will be Raila Odinga and His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. Because I think in 2013, there was this question by Attorney General, who was acting at that time as a amicus curiae, and asked, in case of a flash election, what do you mean, and who will be involved in a flash election? And he said that the petitioner and also the respondent, the respondents in that particular case. And in this case, the petitioner is Raila Odinga, and the respondent is Uhuru Kenyatta. So they said very, very clearly, they are the candidates. And I believe they have also consulted the Supreme Court. They did not just wake up in the morning and decided that it's this person and this person. I know for sure they have actually consulted. So whichever decision that IBC have actually made, of course, is informed, well informed, of course, with the timelines, and two, going by their own timelines. By the time, now we have 42 days.
41 actually.
41 days. Actually, 41 days. It's actually a long time to even procure, and if there is any changes to be undertaken, I know for sure they will have actually undertaken that. But we are also kind of concerned with the kind of pronouncement also by the former Prime Minister, saying that particular individuals in IBC have to go. And we know for sure whom they are targeting. They are targeting about 4 or 5
we have
officers
mentioned them. We have mentioned them. We have mentioned them.
And that one to us it's really worrying, because IEBC is an independent institution. You cannot be a player.
Do you believe IEBC made any transgressions while conducting this particular election?
I don't think they
especially
did,
as per the Supreme Court ruling.
I don't think they did, because the Supreme Court has not even come out to say that these are the kind of issues that they had. These are the problems that actually, what the Chief Justice said is that the identification of voters was super. The voting was super. The counting of votes was okay. What they now started saying had issues is transmission from the constituency headquarters to, that is Form 34B, to Form 34C. So if those are the only issues that were, the least at least they should have done is to ask for retallying again. So of course we had an issue with that, why the Supreme Court decided just to do away with everything. I mean, to me, I thought, I'm not a lawyer, but I thought that they should have said that we have an issue with the tallying or transmission. Then they focus on the transmission. However, we are waiting for their report, because unless they are aware of or privy to the information, because they seem to have prior information as to which officers did what, yeah, and of course we will be questioning that. To me, IEBC is still very, very clean, because if the Supreme Court still mandated the same body to say that conduct a flash election, then to me that was a clear mandate given by the highest court in the land.
Let me take you back to what you've just mentioned, consultation. One of the issues that were raised today by Raila Odinga was that the IEBC did not consult them. Ideally, from even the lawyers that we've spoken to say that IEBC should have just brought all the parties, discussed, decided, are you all okay with this date? Let's take this date. Were any consultations made with Jubilee, or are you interested in any consultations with the IEBC? Like NASA is
I thought, and I said earlier on, IEBC is an independent body. If they think that they would want to involve any, and it is their discretion. If they feel that they are not obliged by law.
Definitely.
They are not totally obliged by law. It's their discretion. If they feel that they would want to consult on the date, I think that's okay. But on the internal management of IEBC, to me, because I believe NASA, that is what they want. They want us to have a sitting, agree on who will be the director of election, agree on who will be the director of ICT, which of course now will be meddling. You are a player and you have a referee here, and yet you are dictating to the referee who will be the referee. Honestly, I don't think it will be fair. I think the best thing we should do is to let IEBC conduct a flash election, and according to the Supreme Court ruling, they say that IEBC, please conduct the flash election, and I think that's the best we should do. However, I've also always said, these guys, they know that they don't have the numbers. And they want to create a constitutional crisis so that we can sit down and have a serikali of nusu mkate. And I don't think that one is envisaged anywhere in the constitution. It happened in 2007, 2008. It will never happen unless we change this constitution.
Well, are you interested in a nusu mkate government?
No. Firstly, I came here to talk, not to listen to Kega all the time. You seem to be giving him a lot of leverage over me.
No, definitely not.
But the Supreme Court has three major mandates, as is espoused in Article 163 of the Constitution. Number one is to listen to appeals emanating from the Court of Appeal. Number two is to litigate about presidential election. And number three, to seek and to deliver opinions either from the national government or the county government. And lots of opinions have been written by this court, including the third gender rule, which was written as opinion number 6 of 2012, which was a very good opinion by Justice retired Mutunga. So those are the three major mandates of the Supreme Court. Now, a court of law is not a kangaroo court like my brother is talking here, that IBC may have consulted with the Supreme Court on the duration of procurement of materials and whether to arrive at 17th as the election date. Judges make decisions based on what is brought before them, either as an application or a petition. And in the interest of what we call a fair hearing, which is found in Article 50 of the Kenya's Constitution, you must involve all the parties that were in a matter, so that if they want to claim that IBC perhaps consulted, but they consulted out of the knowledge of NASA coalition and other interested parties, that is utterly wrong. That never happened. It will never happen because we know how these people operate. Now, the Supreme Court have found people culpable. And some of these people we had very serious questions about even before. And we expressed them as such. It is common knowledge that the ICT director, because of involvement in impropriety, was sent home by the same IBC and the information was made public. Okay? Now, a few days before the election, because of partisan interest, they sneak back this guy without letting the community know again, as they did when the guy was going home. So, and in a few days, sadly, Msando passes on. And what we heard is that the guy then took over in its entirety. Now, talking about Msando, this is the guy who established the technological infrastructure for the elections to be conducted above board. Now, this guy dies, a very serious member of IEBC. Very important countries such as the US and UK offer their tacit support to unearth this mystery. IEBC, which ought to have talked on behalf of the Kenyan people, went quiet, as if they never lost anybody. And even during the burial of this wonderful guy, and I was there, all IEBC officials were missing. So we are asking, was it a pre-planned thing that all the systems were going to be disorganized so that certain particular pronouncements that are in tandem with wishes of a section of the Kenyan people was to be made?
Are these concerns that you still carry forward even with this fresh election?
Oh, yeah, we are. And that is why we are saying people like Chiloba must go home. People like Muhati, the ICT director, must go home. Certain commissioners whom we know, and this is not a matter of conjecture, whom we know beyond peradventure that were complicit in all these arrangements, have to all go home. Otherwise, we are going into another round of suckers. And Jubilee likes these suckers. But this time round, we want to prove to them that, Kenya can still attain electoral sufficiency beyond imagination of any country, not just in Africa, but beyond. One thing that I think they have really advanced is that, in Africa, no election has been overturned by a court of law, that the wishes of 15 million people who went to the ballot must be respected. It is not about the end result. It's about the process through which the end result has been attained. And the court is saying that Uhuru Kenyatta wasn't found to be culpable of any wrongdoing. Yes. Of course, just because we never brought certain evidences like video footage of Uhuru, threatening chiefs in Makueni, or his cabinet secretaries like Matiang'i, Kiunjuri, and many others who were out there campaigning against the constitutional requirement. Well, we didn't provide a video evidence. And you know, courts litigate on evidence, not hearsays.
Then one would ask, if you really thought that the president was culpable, why didn't you provide all the evidence that you said?
Well, again, you know, and this is something that I'm going to start with in Parliament, and I hope my brother here will help me. We need to elongate the litigation period of the presidential election in this country. 14 days, I tell you, even the judges themselves said that it was humanly impossible to retreat and write down a credible, cogent, well-reasoned judgment within the short period of time. So my one fundamental legislation, or a piece of legislation, would be to elongate that particular period to 30 days. And please don't disappoint me on this, my brother Kega.
Yeah.
So
it confirms what I've been saying, that they are not ready for the next election, and I know for sure the next thing they will say that they will want to sack all the officials of IBC. They also say that they are not comfortable with all the commissioners of IBC, just like what they did after the 2013 elections, whereby the Isaac Hassan team was battled out without any person providing any tangible evidence that they did budge the election. So for me, I'm not shocked that Raida said that. In fact, the only part that really at least shocked me is that he said that children will not die if they stayed for 2 more extra weeks in school. Yet at the moment we are mourning students who died. So to me, I'm not concerned about the dates. My biggest concern is that they are not interested in the election. They want to cause a constitutional crisis. They want us to go beyond the 60 days as provided for in the Constitution. And then they say that these are the only days that are provided for in the Constitution, not forgetting that the term of the president is clearly secured, that the president will only hand over power to another president.
So you think they are just in for creating a crisis?
Absolutely, they are creating a crisis so that we can have a caretaker government. It is not going to happen.
All right.
Kenyans are ready for the next general election, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's on the 17th, but it has to be within the 60 days.
Akisa, I said, and let me repeat, that there is no constitutional requirement that mandates children to do the exams in November. In any event, children would be very joyous to see that period extended so that they can prepare properly for the next elections. I mean, for the next exams. So that is a very fundamental thing.
If the election was extended for a day, for sure, our time, if the 8th was extended,
right,
we had an issue.
Well, finish because I need us to wrap it up.
Yeah, another thing that is of profound interest. You saw immediately after the verdict was rendered by the courts, and the behavior by his boss, right from State House to Bama to Nakuru and all that. You know, you don't become so angry. You don't punch holes on the conduct of judges. These people are there to litigate and make judgments that are well-reasoned based on law, acts, enabling acts, and also authorities drawn from other jurisdictions. And if indeed they are ready for election, as they would want the country to believe, if nothing fishy or mischief will be perpetuated, then why all this anger? If they won, they will still win again.
All right, gentlemen.
And we are very ready for the election anytime, but we must make it clear that all the processes must be above board. Everybody has to be involved. No decision shall be made between IEBC and Jubilee alone. NASA must be fully involved. And you know, IEBC is a state body that is...
do a rejoinder because there is there is absolutely no consultation between IEBC and Jubilee.
That uses taxpayers' money. They are not going to be, you know, excluded out of scrutiny by the Kenyan people.
Gentlemen, you say there are no consultations between Jubilee.
Absolutely.
We'll end it at that, gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming into News Desk. Jared Electoral is Member of Parliament for Nyando. Kanini Kega, Member of Parliament for